there are other issues when it comes to Michael Jackson and his skin tone. One of them was often addressed by him, that white America never forgave him for breaking records and becoming more famous than their idols, mainly white artists. He surpassed Elvis Presley, the Beatles, and many more untouchables. The moment that happened, some people began to not only root for his downfall, but to actively work for it, as if the fact that a young black man was taking the world by storm was wrong and abnormal, and he needed to be put back in his place to where he belongs. Unfortunately, this didn't end with tabloids.
Tonight on Hard Copy, explosive new charges against Michael Jackson. Tonight, Hard Copy's Diane Diamond reveals the exclusive details behind the child abuse allegations.
The official documents that I've seen include a very detailed account of just what this 13-year-old boy says happened to him.
The case was, however, settled out of court, which many media outlets publicized as hush money. It was only later that it was revealed that the father of the boy had a hidden agenda against Jackson. Michael Jackson met Jordan Chandler in 1992, after the star's car had broken down, and he went to a nearby car rental agency that was owned by the boy's stepfather, David Schwartz. From then on, a friendship and a close relation developed between the star and the family. There were rumors that Jackson was thinking of settling down with the mother June Chandler and adopting her son Jordan and his sister Lily. Jackson used to shower them with several gifts. He gifted June an expensive bracelet, which wasn't merely a bracelet, but a prisoner of love bracelet, which comes with a key. It's given to a woman on a very special occasion, when a man wants to convey to her that he is locking himself up with her in a kind of a solemn ritual. In fact, June was the only one who actually accompanied Michael wherever he went, though no other woman in his surrounding ever did it, and that too, so openly, except for his future wives Lisa Marie Presley and Debbie Rowe. She was the first woman to stay with Michael in his hotel suites and accompany him to many places of the world, including the official ceremonies. He even introduced her to the royalty by taking her and her kids to a party thrown by Prince Albert of Monaco. Michael for quite some time stayed in June Chandler's house, and used to arrive there every day in time for the family dinner, and help Jordan to do his homework. If this was supposed to be his family, it was a natural thing for him to treat Jordan like his own son, and Lily like his own daughter. However, his increasing closeness with the family didn't go down well for Jordan's biological father, Evan Chandler, who was divorced from Jordan's mother for 7 years. According to June, Evan did not spend much time with his son. He was rather busy writing screenplays, and was an abusive man with a haughty temper. He was absent in their life until Jackson started spending more time with them. The moment he learned about his son's and wife's increasing closeness to Michael, he reappeared in their lives, and took it as an opportunity to fulfill several demands. He asked Jackson to build an addition to his house, to help him with his screenwriting career, and make him a partner in his movie company, all of which Jackson declined. This is when Evan suddenly started suspecting Jordan to be sexually abused by the star. Jordan, despite demands from Evan, refused to call his father on Father's Day. Because of his repeated refusal to return his phone calls, Evan Chandler left a threatening message on June Chandler's answering machine. Evan attributed Jordan's refusal to talk to him to Jackson's influence on the boy, as if Evan's mania, threats, temper tantrums, and weird sexual suggestions and questions would not be enough to alienate a child. Jordan's stepfather David Schwartz then recorded 3 telephonic conversations he had with Evan Chandler, which reveals his wrath against Jackson.
This man is going to be humiliated beyond belief. He will not believe it. He will not believe what's going to happen. Yeah. Beyond his worst nightmares, sell one more record, If I go through with this, I win big time. I will get everything I want, and they will be destroyed forever.
Rather than obvious concern for his son, it was Evan's hurt ego and jealousy, which was vividly evident throughout the duration of the recorded tape.
To tell you the truth, Dave, it would be a lot easier for me and a lot more satisfying to see everybody get destroyed, like they've destroyed me, but it would be a lot easier. All I can think about is I only have one goal, and the goal is to get their attention.
Evan then goes on to complain that Jackson stopped calling him.
There was no reason why he had to stop calling me. He could have called me.
So why do you think he's not nice?
Why? Because he broke up the family, that's why.
Evan further divulged to David Schwartz about his plan for an extortion attempt.
There are other people involved that are waiting for my phone call. I paid them to do it. They're doing their job. Everything is going according to a certain plan. That isn't just mine. There's other people involved.
This attorney I found, I interviewed several, and I picked the nastiest son of a bitch I could find.
All he wants to do is get this out in the public as fast as he can, as big as he can, and humiliate as many people as he can. He's nasty. He's very smart, and he's hungry for the publicity.
Once I make that phone call, this guy is just going to destroy everybody in sight. Any devious, nasty, cruel way that he can do it. And I've given him full authority to do that. It'll be a massacre if I don't get what I want.
This attorney was Barry Rothman, who Evan hired as a catalyst for his plan. This is the same lawyer who in 1992 represented a client in a custody battle who accused her estranged companion of molesting their child, which the man denied. When Rothman was fired by the woman, he went on to represent the man's company without notifying his former client. For this, Rothman was disciplined by the state's bar. Evan threatened to set the plan in motion if Jackson, June, and Jordan don't appear at the meeting on July 9th.
I'm going to torture them, Dave. Because that's what June has done to me. She has tortured me.
David Schwartz and June Chandler handed over these tapes to Anthony Pellicano, a private investigator working for Jackson's lawyer. Pellicano, without Jackson being present, asked the boy very specific questions about whether he has ever been molested or inappropriately touched by the entertainer. The boy repeatedly denied any wrongdoing and said his father only wanted money. Later, Evan gains the custody of Jordan only for a week, but refuses to return him to June. That's when Jordan was coached to make allegations against Jackson. Jordan now claims he was molested by Michael Jackson. But what does Evan do? Instead of reporting to authorities, he reaches out to Jackson, demanding $20 million not to turn to authorities and not to go public with the allegations. Jackson, however, declined this demand. It is clear that Jackson had plenty of opportunities to pay off the Chandlers and to stop them from going to authorities, had he really wanted to. However, he refused to do so. Why would an individual who's guilty of a crime not pay off his victims right away in order to silence them and preventing the allegations from being reported? After June's intervention, the court ordered Evan Chandler to return the boy to his mother. As an answer to the court order, and frustrated by Jackson's refusal to pay him off, Evan was left with no choice but to go public with his allegations. Jackson was seen with teary eyes as he broke down during his rehearsals for the upcoming concerts when he was made aware of these allegations.
Yeah, I'm just gonna watch.
There have been many disgusting statements made recently concerning allegations of improper conduct on my part. These statements about me are totally false. As I have maintained from the very beginning, I am hoping for a speedy end to this horrifying experience to which I have been subjected. I have been forced to submit to a dehumanizing and humiliating examination by the Santa Barbara County Sheriff Department and the Los Angeles Police Department earlier this week. They served a search warrant on me which allowed them to view and photograph my body, including my penis, my buttocks, my lower torso, thighs, and any other area that they wanted.
According to Jackson's makeup artist Karen Faye, Michael humbly invited the examiners, sat down, and shared a meal with them. And when they left, he burst out into tears.
It was the most humiliating ordeal of my life, one that no person should ever have to suffer.
According to Geraldo Rivera, the video of Jackson's strip search was shared around the police precinct, like a movie, and they were showing it to outsiders too, including Geraldo himself.
And even after experiencing the indignity of this search, the parties involved were still not satisfied and wanted to take even more pictures. It was a nightmare, a horrifying nightmare. But if this is what I have to endure to prove my innocence, my complete innocence, so be it.
5 search warrants were issued to carry out searches on Jackson's properties. Vigorous searching led to no incriminating evidence. The authorities interviewed around 40 to 60 children and their parents, who had ever spent time with Jackson or at his Neverland Ranch. All were defensive of Jackson, and no one corroborated Jordan's story. Later, Evan's lawyer, Barry Rothman, stepped back from representing the Chandlers after Jackson filed for extortion charges against him and Evan Chandler. The Chandlers hired another attorney, Gloria Allred, but a couple of days later they fired her and replaced her with a civil attorney, Larry Feldman, since she wanted to pursue criminal charges first. According to Ray Chandler, Evan Chandler's brother, this was because the Chandlers wanted to steer the case toward a highly profitable settlement, rather than a grand jury indictment and a criminal trial. Evan and David Schwartz later had an argument about the settlement money that they had not even received yet. Schwartz demanded $4 million, while the Chandlers did not want to include him in Jordan's complaint. In the heat of this verbal battle, Evan sprang from his seat and slapped Dave in the face. Several of the lawyers stepped between the two and separated them. The Chandlers then filed a $30 million civil lawsuit against Jackson, accusing him of sexual battery, seduction, willful misconduct, intentional infliction of emotional distress, fraud, and negligence. The civil suit was settled out of court, which was publicized by the media and tabloids as hush money. The settlement was made months after the allegations had gone public. By no literal sense could it be referred as hush money. Why would an innocent man settle? The media has certainly taught you all their version of answer, but not the complicated circumstances that led to the civil settlement. Keep in mind, Evan Chandler filed a civil lawsuit rather than filing a police complaint. Normally, civil complaints are only filed after the criminal proceedings are completed and justice has been served. One would naturally expect the parents of a molested child to pursue justice, and not money when they have the chance to do so. However, that was not the case with Chandlers. To achieve the settlement goal, the Chandlers played the California legal system masterfully. They took full advantage of the California law that allowed civil case to proceed ahead of criminal case. There are many precedents where civil proceedings have been frozen to allow the criminal trial ahead, preserving a defendant's right to a fair criminal trial and preventing that right from being violated. However, in Jackson's case, all such attempts by Jackson's lawyers to stay the civil proceeding were dismissed by the judge. The assistant of Barry Rothman, who represented the Chandlers, revealed in details on what went behind the closed doors between Rothman and the Chandlers.
And he was behind closed doors with my attorney, the Jordan Chandler was. I actually opened up the door one day. I was leaving, and I opened up the door, and Jordy was in the back, and he kind of looked a little startled because I looked and I saw him, and I was like, nobody in the office knew that he was even there. June never did agree with the allegation, but after the allegation hit, they were meeting in my attorney, David Schwartz, June Chandler, Evan Chandler, and my attorney. They were all meeting behind closed doors in my attorney's office. And I heard Evan blurt out, he says, my ass is in danger of going to prison right here. Inside the law office, the only thing they were asking for was money. Where's this money? How much? They were sending discovery in, and the discovery was only trying to find his money.
They will be destroyed forever. They will be destroyed. June is going to lose Jordy. She will have no right to ever see him again.
Yeah.
That's fact, Dave. That's what's
Does that help?
Michael's career will be over.
Does that help Jordy?
Michael's career will be over.
And does that help Jordy?
It's irrelevant to me.
Does this sound like a father who's concerned about his son? Or more of an extortionist who wants to avenge for his hurt ego? Chandler and his attorney Larry Feldman did everything in their power to scrape off any possibility of having the criminal case go ahead of the civil trial, while the Jackson side strived hard to push the criminal proceedings ahead of the civil process, for Jackson to clear his name in a possible criminal trial in order to prove his innocence. However, his repeated pleas and motions to carry on with the criminal proceedings got rejected by the judge 4 times, and eventually the civil trial was allowed to go ahead of the criminal trial. Michael Jackson and his attorneys were forced to settle the civil case out of court because of Jackson's amendment rights being violated. Ask yourselves, why would a guilty man take up such a dreadful risk that could end him up in jail, than to pay off his victims, even though he had an excellent opportunity to do so long ago? And why would a father seek a monetary restitution from his son's abuser, instead of making sure that the molester is behind bars? Keep in mind, only the criminal trial can send the alleged perpetrator to jail. A civil trial can only result in monetary award. While the accused Michael Jackson did everything he could to pursue criminal case, the accuser Evan Chandler did everything to pursue civil case. While most media outlets raised the question as to why an innocent man would settle out of court, nobody battled an eyelid on the fact that, why would the parent of a victim would go for a civil approach, and not send the perpetrator to jail for traumatizing his child?
Think about it yourself. And Michael molested your son. Would you ask for money? Would you? No, you wouldn't ask. If Michael molested your child, you wouldn't ask for money. What you would do, the first thing a man would do is beat the heck out of him and then call the cops.
Do you think a father would accept money, that would make it okay, that would make everything all right? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. I know that if that were my son, I'm sorry. I don't care if you gave me $1 billion. I want to see you either behind bars or dead for the rest of your life for doing that to my son or my daughter. It's crazy. The guy was after money is what he wanted.
The case was settled out of court with proper legal documents. So how can that be termed as hush money if the settlement was known to everyone? Jackson did everything he could to get justice. How can it be silence of victims when it was done under jurisdiction? In fact, it was the Chandlers who wanted to be silenced by Jackson. It is important to emphasize that it was the Chandler family who demanded a settlement from the very beginning, and it was not Michael Jackson who sought or offered it. Also keep in mind that the civil case was settled for negligence and not for child molestation.
The resolution of this case is in no way an admission of guilt by Michael Jackson.
The settlement didn't prevent the Chandlers from testifying against Jackson in a criminal court. But once they received the settlement, they refused to cooperate with the authorities because they were never interested in the criminal proceedings in the first place. Their only focus was money from the very beginning. The criminal case still went to court, in which 2 grand juries convened by the local DA Tom Sneddon didn't find any evidence to even indict him. Moreover, Jordan in 1994 at the age of 14 sought legal emancipation from his parents and didn't speak to them for over a decade. And when the prosecution sought to get Jordan subpoenaed to testify, he threatened the investigators that he would legally fight any attempt to do so. And years later, in 2005, Jordan obtained a temporary restraining order against his own father when Evan Chandler struck his own son on the head from behind with a 12.5-pound weight, and then sprayed his eyes with mace or pepper spray and tried to choke him. A judge found that the weight could have caused serious bodily injury, or even death. Later Evan Chandler sued his own son in order to get hold of the settlement money, that was put in a trust in Jordan's name. This wasn't it. There was a never-ending chain of civil disputes between them, as they ended up suing each other in numerous cases. Evan Chandler again sued Jackson, in order to cover the sum of $68,000, which he owed to his ex-wife June under child support. Evan then filed a complaint against David Schwartz and June Chandler, for invasion of his privacy. Schwartz countersued Chandler in a cross-complaint. Lisa Marie Presley too was dragged by Chandler amidst the disputes. Evan didn't even spare his own son, and sued him to get hold of the settlement money. It's quite evident that the family of the Chandlers was a dysfunctional one, with all the adults just hankering after money. In 2019, a key witness for the first time appeared in Danny Wu's documentary Square One, revealing her personal experience with Jordan.
And a young man came up to me and told me that he liked my shirt, and that young man turned out to be Jordan Chandler. He made his own music. He would describe it as pop R&B like Michael Jackson. I remember that because he said it many times very clearly. He would wear fedoras. When I think about the people in the program that I saw him with, the people that he did surround himself with were people who were Michael Jackson fans. I was told that at a party, Jordan, played all of Michael's music, danced like him, did all of his moves, and that his apartment was almost sort of a shrine to Michael, that there was a lot of different fan memorabilia. Immediately after the Martin Bashir documentary aired, we had a program meeting, and there was a discussion about, whether or not Michael Jackson was a child molester. People were calling him freaks. During that conversation, Jordan Chandler chimed in and said that he too believed that Michael Jackson wasn't capable of the things he was being accused of. And he said that voluntarily, and he said it without my prompting, and he wasn't asked. And, throughout the semester, there were different occasions like that where he would, again, sort of reaffirm things that I said in defense of Michael Jackson. It was shocking that he would speak up, and it really affirmed my belief that Michael was innocent. And, given things that Jordan had said separately, having nothing to do with Michael Jackson, about his home life, it affirmed my belief that he was a victim of his parents' greed and that he was forced to say certain things.
The father of a boy who back in the early 1990s, in a highly publicized case you probably remember, accused Michael Jackson of molesting him. Well, that father committed suicide in Jersey City.
Evan's end was a tragic one. He was found dead in his apartment, as he had shot himself, committing suicide 4 months after Jackson's death. Evan Chandler was known by many in the Beverly Hills area to be an opportunistic and exploitative man. Unfortunately, Michael Jackson found out too late, after Evan had already set his extortion scheme in motion.